Done everything with all of his heart. And when he does something, he gets all of it.
Democrats are really in for a big surprise in November.
And the Republican Party is all about individualism, and it's about freedom.
We see these promises made and promises kept.
For Hispanics from every corner of this hemisphere, they recognize that President Trump is not only willing to stand up and fight for freedom and democracy, but he is also willing to stand up to despots and dictators.
We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Wednesday just got better because the ladies are live discussing the hottest topics of the week with you tonight.
And we will make America great again.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to The Right View. I'm Lara, Trump's senior advisor to President Trump's re-election campaign. Joining me, as always, are three brilliant women who are refreshingly unafraid to stand up for this country and fight for our president. Kimberly Guilfoyle, National Chair of Trump Victory, Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Advisor for Strategic Communications, and Katrina Pierson, Senior Advisor to the Trump campaign. Be sure to like and share this broadcast with all of your friends, please. We have a lot to talk about tonight, so we're going to jump right in. Ladies, it's great to be back with you. We're going to start with what the country is talking about. Our nation is sickened by the brutal death of George Floyd, and we've seen radical groups like Antifa completely dishonor his memory by inciting violence across the country. As President Trump has said, he is an ally of all peaceful protesters, and he will restore law and order in our country. I want to play this clip of President Trump from yesterday and get everybody's reaction. Take a look.
Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
All right, ladies, while the media is trying to destroy the president, President Trump is leading on this issue. Katrina, give me your thoughts on this. What did you think about the president's remarks?
You know, I was so excited. This is our president, and I'm so proud to have helped get him elected. And this is the president that turned blue states red in 2016, and the facts usually come out in the wash. And in every instance, he's been able to re-educate the population on how our government functions. He's been delivering historic results for Black and brown communities. And the media just can't let that get out into the mainstream. And I'm just like, I was thinking about this the other day, you know, looking at 2016 and how he was campaigning to be everyone's president, Laura. And I just, every time he said that in 2016, I thought this is really going to change things. And now when you look at the Rasmussen poll, you see that President Trump's support in Black communities at 32%. And now here he is again, standing up for them. I think that yesterday was a great day in America.
Mm-hmm.
And Kimberly, what did you think about things?
You know, one word, leadership, right? That's what the American people are looking for. And President Trump's remarks, they were strong, they were direct, and they sent a message across the country that under his leadership, America will be safe and secure once more. And he's believable. He's done it before and he will do it again. And later on in his remarks, he said something that I found to be very powerful. He said, where there is no law, there is no opportunity. Where there is no justice, there is no liberty. Where there is no safety, there is no future. I think that really sums it up. America wants to get back to work safely, securely, get back in their communities, not be afraid to bring their children outside. The pandemic was bad enough, but we don't need to make the situation worse. And President Trump understands what many of these like liberal governors and mayors fail to actually comprehend, and that is America is a nation of laws. And without staying true to the values of this nation, we will have no progress. And by standing up for law and order, President Trump is fighting for the rights of all Americans and the progress that's possible if the democratic principles of this nation are protected and heeded.
Yeah, well, tragically, Antifa and other far-left anarchist groups are using this tragedy as an excuse to violently riot, burn down businesses and homes, and hurt the livelihoods of many Americans. I want to quickly play a clip of Antifa and how they've been treating the police in Chicago. It's disgusting. Watch this. Wow, it's very hard to watch. Mercedes, it almost doesn't even look like the United States of America. You never think you're going to see a scene like that. What did you feel when you saw this video? And by the way, there are so many other videos sadly out there like that.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking. And look, let's start with the reality that the life of George Floyd was tragically taken by a police officer. Let's just start there, okay? We know that George Floyd and his family deserve justice. And in fact, it was President Trump who came out early on and said, we need to honor the memory of George Floyd. And as we know, and of course the media doesn't report too much of it, is that the president spoke with the family, that the president since day one has said, we need to focus on this. We need to find solutions. The Department of Justice has said that this investigation is a top priority. However, the fact that Antifa and these radical groups have incited violence, have taken advantage of peaceful protesters to the fact that they are destroying cities, allowing for looters to go in and smash windows, smash the sewer windows, also vandalize. It is absolutely disgusting. And it's why the president has stood so strong in saying, look, I am the president of law and order. I am the president that's going to go talk to these Democrat governors and these other local officials and say, you got to take control of your cities. And guess what? I'm here to help you. That's why he has sent over 17,000 National Guards to these different states. So it is because of President Trump's leadership that now you're going to start seeing a shift in terms of, like we saw last night in DC, a little more under control than what we've seen in the past. But I will tell you, the violence, the going after innocent individuals, that needs to stop. Yeah. Our country, you know, our families, we're all concerned for the safety of all Americans. It's one thing to peacefully protest, yes, part of our First Amendment. It's another thing to destroy America. And that's exactly what Antifa is doing.
Yeah, and I think we need to talk about the fact that there are distinct groups here that we see out on the streets. You have the peaceful protesters who, these police officers that are out there that are being brutally attacked, they're out there to give these people their First Amendment right to peaceful assembly so that they can protest and get their point across. Then you have the absolutely radical far left groups like Antifa, whose only mission is to cause destruction, chaos, to burn things down. I literally, it's unbelievable whenever you see every night. I think we've all watched the news and been horrified by what we see happening in our country. So you have that group, and then you have the people who are out and about, because why not be out and about? And you know what? The police are distracted. Nobody's going to stop you. Why not loot some stores? They don't really care about George Floyd or making a statement on this issue. It's got to be talked about that these groups are all very separate, and we all in this country, I think, support the peaceful protesters. Nobody should be supporting Antifa or whoever is causing all of this destruction. Kimberly, I mean, it doesn't even feel real, I think. This year's been a little crazy. But what did you think whenever you see these videos like that, whenever you see the way that these police officers are being treated? You know what? Just because there are some bad people out there doesn't mean you paint a broad brush and say all cops are bad, let's attack the police. Of course. It's awful. What are your thoughts on that?
I worked with police officers my whole life. My cousin was chief of police for many years back in the Bay Area. It's horrifying to me, as a former prosecutor, to see just complete disrespect for the men and women in uniform and for the rule of law. People pretending they're protesting, but they're just looting and stealing things so they can sell it. That is disrespect to the memory of George Floyd or anybody who suffered at the hands of police brutality or violence, for that matter, or criminal acts. These riots really, quite frankly, have exposed some of the worst and most dangerous elements of this political movement. But I don't believe that Antifa belongs to any political party, quite frankly. They're terrorists, they're domestic terrorists who do not want change. They only want to create total mayhem, anarchy, and they only seek a violent revolution. And the media really has been complicit because they've tried to cover for these people for years, but they're criminals. And so I'm glad that they are finally being exposed, and I applaud the Attorney General, Bill Barr, for actually calling them out and labeling them what they are. They should be prosecuted, and anyone who funds them should be prosecuted. I want to point out, however, if you watch that video closely that we played a clip of, there are black, brown, and white young people jumping in to help the officers, to bring them to safety. God bless. And I truly believe that America is not as broken or divided as the media wants you to believe. And the death of George Floyd was horrific. And it was wrong. It was inexcusable. And it was really the antithesis to the rule of law and real justice that we seek, in this country. I do believe in the promise of this nation. I believe in the progress of this nation. And I believe in the rule and law. I lived my life by it, and I fought for it, and for fair and equal justice for all. We can heal these wounds, but we have to do it peacefully. And we have to do it with love. We have to do it with understanding, compassion, and continue to build the perfect union our forefathers sought to create. And I believe in this very passionately, and I think the president hit the tone perfectly last night and showed tremendous courage and resolve, and coming out of the White House like that after his comments. So God bless him.
Yep, hate doesn't drive out hate, only love can do that. Martin Luther King said that. We should all take a note. You mentioned the media, Kimberly. The media has been working overtime to try and create the false narrative, big shocker here, that President Trump has not been involved with recent events. We know that couldn't be further from the truth. Katrina, why does the liberal media continue to push the false narrative that President Trump has been silent about George Floyd and the riots? What's their goal here? What are they trying to do?
Well, the goal is always the same goal, and it is to try and control the masses. I mean, look, the left won't exist unless the nation stays divided. And it's, you mentioned some of the disgusting things that have happened over the weekend. And here in Dallas, a man was stoned. This is the type of thing that happens in a third world country. And instead of the press covering this the way that they should be, which is to, inform the people, they are covering it up. They're calling this, peaceful protesters. What I saw over the weekend was anything but peaceful. But they do it because they have to keep people divided. And it's not just divided, it's divided by race, Laura. The media and the left are obsessed with it because identity politics has done wonders for the powers to be, and they have a death grip on it right now. Because here's the reality. Police brutality is not reserved for one particular race. You only see the outrage when it's a black man or woman. And think of it this way, in Georgia, no one even heard of the Aubrey case until a video came out. And because of that, it became, spearheaded in the media months after the fact. And they do it because it keeps people divided. There's strength in numbers, and when people come together, when we come together, good prevails. And President Trump has delivered positive generational change for these underserved communities in just 4 years. You have black leaders, black celebrities, and media pundits out there asking Joe Biden now, with his 40-year record of creating generational destruction, poverty, and economic oppression of minorities, what have you done for me lately? And I think that's why we're seeing this heavy, heavy intent on keeping Americans divided, because people, and black voters specifically, are waking up because President Trump's been able to do something Joe Biden's only talked about for his entire life.
All right,
Amen.
and there it is. Yep, couldn't agree more. All right, ladies, thank you so much. And folks at home, be sure to like and share this broadcast with your friends. We've got to take a very quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
A bull in a china shop, changing Washington. It takes a Donald Trump to demand truth from China. Shut down foreign travel. Get ventilators and tests now. Raise unemployment benefits. Cash relief to families. Washington's come to that. President Trump's not always polite. Mr. Nice Guy won't cut it. He does it his way, not the Washington way. But Donald Trump gets it done.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back to The Right View. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and we just saw some of the horrific damage done to our communities and neighborhoods by Antifa. Thankfully, President Trump is taking the necessary steps to regain law and order in our country, and the choice couldn't be any more stark. In the wake of these violent riots, more than a dozen of Joe Biden's campaign staff and Hollywood liberal elites have donated to a fund that pays the bail fees of Minneapolis rioters. These are not protesters. These are rioters who are burning and looting down their towns and villages. As a former prosecutor, I know a crime when I see it. Stores, churches, housing, all burned, looted, and lives destroyed. Ladies, I want to have you all weigh in on this. What does this say about Democrats, and more specifically and importantly, Joe Biden's campaign, that they are actually donating to bail out criminals like those who make up Antifa, people who are known to commit domestic acts of terrorism, Laura?
Well, I think it says that they don't really care about America or Americans. I can't forget the video I saw of this woman in Minneapolis who was absolutely hysterical, beside herself, crying, saying, why did they do this to my community? Why did they do this to my home? I mean, it's heartbreaking to see. Many of these communities are never going to recover from these violent acts, from the burning of their stores and their homes. I mean, it is absolute and complete destruction. And then you have Joe Biden's campaign and all of these woke celebrities bailing out these people. Kimberly, to your point, these are not peaceful protesters.
Right.
This is not, this is not a kumbaya moment. These people broke the law. They committed crimes that destroyed neighborhoods and communities all across this country. And then you have Joe Biden's campaign and the celebrity crowd bailing them out. But it tells you all you need to know. When push comes to shove, they're all about optics. And they thought that for some reason, optically, that was going to be a glamorous thing for them to do. But the real Americans in this country, the people that care and the people whose communities were destroyed, are paying attention. And I think it was an absolutely ridiculous move. How careless and how thoughtless of them to do something this stupid. I can't even make sense of it.
Yeah, it's really quite disgusting that it's Katrina, that they're allowing something like this to happen and they can hold their heads up to think that they're doing something. There's some great civil justice, warrior by actually being complicit and helping aid and assist people who are committing acts of domestic terrorism.
You know, Kimberly, it's that old saying, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's very simple for me, guys. You know, it's fitting, actually. Joe Biden, like I said, has a record of destruction in Black communities, Black America in general. So it actually makes a lot of sense to me that the people for him feel the same. I don't know. It just seems like a no-brainer. These people have been out there supporting a guy that has done nothing for these types of communities, has actually gone above and beyond to do more damage than anything else over the years. So it seems quite fitting that his own people are supporting these efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just unconscionable, but it is, you know, just like Laura, like you said, it's tough to watch some of these videos and see what's going on, and then to think that these liberal elites are actually paying the bail money. They're complicit with acts of domestic terrorism, the way I look at it as a prosecutor. Mercy, let me get your thoughts.
Well, I mean, does that mean that Joe Biden is buying like the can of paint that they're using to vandalize, like the Lincoln Memorial and the World War II Memorial? I just think about it. I mean, this is what drives me crazy with the left. You know, you even had the case of the pastor of the St. John's Church coming out and criticizing the president for boldly walking over to the church, standing there with a Bible. Mind you, it's a public sidewalk, and the pastor says this is abuse of a sacred symbol. The abuse of the sacred symbol comes from these violent rioters. They come from Antifa. And the ones that you have seen clearly that with Joe Biden, he hasn't even condemned Antifa. Just think about that for 1 minute. He hasn't condemned the rioters. And so we have to keep showing the media, talking to the left, saying, you all make it a case where it is about peaceful protests. Yes, we agree with peaceful protesters, but the mere fact that bailout money is going to end up in the hands of those violent criminals, those who have basically, and you see those horrible videos of a woman standing in front of the store getting beaten up, you know, or someone getting stoned, and the constant fear that, you know, we were talking about this, young folks that are living in DC right now who are scared, who can't live in their apartment buildings because they are scared for their lives. And so that's what is so disturbing. The fact that Joe Biden, instead of trying to be someone that would maybe try to unite, has made a decision, their campaign, to support these violent protesters, these violent rioters that are causing horrible damage to our community. And that's in huge contrast to obviously what President Trump is standing for, which is that of ensuring that our communities are safe and that businesses are able to get back to work.
Yeah, and by the way,
absolutely right.
Let me just say this. When I saw St. John's Church on fire, that somebody had the audacity to go into a church, a very historic church, 205 years old. Every president for the past 205 years has visited that church. In fact, our family went there the morning of inauguration in 2017. I was absolutely horrified. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes to see.
Heartbreaking.
That is, I mean, when people see places of worship on fire because someone intentionally did that, shame on these people. I mean, there's nothing I can think of that is a bigger slap in the face to every single American than doing something like this. It's absolutely disgraceful. These people need to be punished. The full extent of the law should be brought against them, and I hope we see it happen.
I hope so too. And so, you know, Joe Biden didn't even condemn the riots until Sunday morning after several days and nights of rioting. You know, Laura, what does it say really about Biden's lack of leadership? I mean, it's appalling. I mean, obviously he has no clue. You know, he's down in the basement with a teleprompter and an audience of two, but you know, this is really beyond the pale that he can't even figure this out. I guess because he's conflicted, because he's too busy paying to support the destruction of American dreams and lives.
Yeah, well, he's got the geese squawking in the background, so maybe he didn't hear about it. I don't really know. What I do know is that President Trump was out front on this, and President Trump started talking about this on Wednesday. He put out there to the world and made sure we knew that he was on top of this. He was paying attention, that the Department of Justice and the FBI was doing an expedited investigation because justice will be served. Those were his exact words about this matter. And I mean, that's all you need to know about this. The president is in charge. He's making sure that the wrongs are righted. He wants to get to the bottom of this and seek justice for all. And Joe Biden, of course, is twiddling his thumbs, and I don't know, listening to the geese in the background. I don't know what he was doing, but I think it was very clear that to the American people that President Trump was out front on this.
Yeah, he's totally out of touch, and we're out of time for him in terms of America. We don't have time for Joe Biden and his nonsense and disrespect for life and the rule of law. Katrina, how can we expect this guy? How can we expect Biden to defend America's best interest domestically or internationally when he won't even take a stand against a group like Antifa?
Yeah, Kimberly, I don't think anyone looks at Joe Biden and sees strength. I don't think anyone, listens to Joe Biden and thinks this is the guy I want to protect me from terrorism. I mean, he's not even sure where he is half the time. And over this time, he's been out in Delaware, which I haven't heard about the riots in Delaware, taking photo ops of businesses with their glass windows fully intact. But yeah, I mean, this guy is a joke. I mean, it's all a game. The political establishment is just checking the boxes right now. No conscious human being believes that Joe Biden has the capacity to lead this nation. And that is another contributing factor to this experience of Trump derangement syndrome on steroids we're all watching go down right now, because they know President Trump will win again. Because half the time, Joe Biden has no idea what state he's in, physically or mentally.
Yeah, we can't afford him. It's just ridiculous. The price would be far too high, and the country has suffered enough, let me tell you. So, Mercy, Democrat governors and Democrat mayors are showing their weak leadership repeatedly, day after day, week after week, at the expense of American lives and taxpayers, with their inability and absolute refusal to get control of the riots in their communities and their states. Why exactly is the left tolerating and almost endorsing and encouraging such abhorrent behavior?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's so hard for me to understand that you have, again, we address the celebrities, we address Joe Biden's campaign supporting these criminals, that they would want to see the destruction of America. Look, there is a way, and even George Floyd's brother said it, focus, put your energy into a positive way. Don't do it in a destructive way. And that should be the message of any leader. That is the message of President Trump, the message President Trump has to Americans. And I think President Trump made it very clear. He said, we need to dominate in these streets, meaning you have to have law enforcement take control of the streets so we don't see this chaos that we're seeing. And it was interesting to watch. I mean, I think this goes from decades and decades and decades of failed leadership by Democrat mayors, where you have seen poverty and you have seen high unemployment rates in these cities, where which has, of course, impacted the minority community. And they have, and really it's because of President Trump and his ability to rebuild distressed communities, to look at opportunity zones, to be able to invest in these distressed communities, that I think his vision for these distressed communities, I think, has really been very different than what we see with career politicians like many of these Democrat mayors, like Joe Biden, which we know for over 40 years, what has he really done for the Black community to help uplift them from poverty and giving them economic opportunities?
Nothing. Help put them in jail with his crime bill. You're right.
That's right. That's right. So I think when you look at these Democrat mayors and what they've offered, this is why President Trump's message is so important, which is, what do you got to lose? Give me a chance. And that's what we want to see for Republicans. We want Republicans to go into these communities like we're doing with Black Voices and say, we are here, we are present, we are not going to take your voice for granted. And that's exactly the role that President Trump is playing, as well as encouraging Republicans who have done a bad job at this to go into our Black communities and say, we want your vote. We need to change leadership in your community.
You're absolutely right. And now more than ever. Now take a listen to this here. We'll take a look. The Democrat mayor of Seattle, Jenny Durkin, tweeted, quote, I want to acknowledge that much of the violence and destruction, both here in Seattle and across the country, has been instigated and perpetuated by white men, end quote. So that was her Magnificent tweet that she put out there. So, Katrina, why does the left always use such divisive language and pivot to identity politics? They're like a one-trick pony.
Yeah, it's because they know that people are psychologically imprisoned by the color of their skin, because racism does exist, but you can't blame everything on race, and perception is reality, and your reality is filtered through your experience. I mean, I even have educated and successful friends who continue to argue for their limitations just because of their skin color. And I always share the story, ladies, of Madam C.J. Walker. She was the first female millionaire in America. She was a Black woman in the 1980s.
Yes.
There is no excuse for sob stories. It's about personal responsibility and accountability, not race. But they do it because it works. They use it to excuse and explain failures and incapabilities, and politicians do it because they know they can. Because as soon as you inject race into the discussion, nobody else wants to have a talk, and therefore everybody else takes their ball and goes home. Not now with President Trump. He's taking this head on, and he's fighting for those communities, and they see it.
Absolutely. All right, so Laura, I'm going to go over the Democrat Party hit list, okay? Yeah, prepare yourself.
Go ahead, I'm ready.
It's not good. All right, so this is their hit list, okay? They're home to high unemployment, government reliance, radical socialist policies, right? In stark contrast with President Trump's agenda that puts the American worker first. How are these Democrat governors and mayors failing their constituents?
Yeah, well, let's not forget high taxes, high poverty in many cases. We have a great opportunity every single time we get to cast a vote in this country. And I want everybody to pay very close attention, because if you ever wondered, well, hey, why is it so bad to have a Democrat mayor of a city? I mean, what do I really care? What does the mayor do? Take a look at every single city across this country that has seen these horrific burnings, the police getting run over, every kind of vandalism and looting you could possibly imagine. They are Democrat-run cities. I live in New York City, and let me tell you something. I am appalled by what I see happening in my city. The fact that Mayor de Blasio has taken far too long to call in backup if he needs it for his police force there. You need to put the people of your city first. You need to protect your city. You need to protect your state if you're the governor. These folks took an oath to uphold the law and make sure to keep their communities safe. Where are they right now? We haven't seen any of them. It is in complete opposition to what we see from President Trump, leading with strength, saying there should not be crime run amok all over our country right now. People should not be afraid for their lives living in the great cities of our country. So Donald Trump is all about law and order, peaceful protests, and sadly, you see why it's so important to choose your community leaders wisely, because a Democrat mayor means that should you ever find yourself in a situation like we, God forbid, ever find ourselves like this again, this is why it's so important, because they're ready to uphold the rule of law. And sadly, a lot of these Democrat mayors are, I don't know what their problem is. They're too scared to say, let the police do their jobs. I don't know what the story is here, but this is unacceptable. And I hope everyone's paying close attention out there.
Absolutely. And we'll be right back after this short commercial break with more of The Right View. Stay with us. As we have already seen, his America First agenda has lifted all Americans up and have empowered them with true economic emancipation that has once again made the American dream possible. That's why I want you to text EMPOWER to 88022 right now if you want to keep America great and deliver 4 more years for President Donald J. Trump.
Mass incarceration has put hundreds of thousands behind bars for minor offenses. Joe Biden wrote those laws.
Every major crime bill that's come out of this Congress has had the name Joe Biden on that bill. We do everything but hang people for jaywalking in this bill.
Joe Biden's policies destroyed millions of black lives. Joe Biden may not remember, but we do.
Welcome back to The Right View. I'm Mercedes Schlapp. I know we've been having what I would say is a pretty intense conversation. Obviously, we're all sickened by what we've seen happen throughout the cities, but there's also inspirational stories, those stories that really touch your heart and make you think, you know what, the spirit of America is great. So Lara, I want to start with you. What have you seen on social media? What really caught your eye in terms of maybe a video that you saw that really impacted you this week?
Well, it is time for a little bit of good news and positivity. And look, I think as Americans, we can all agree that we are all so much more alike than we are different. Every American wants to give everybody their shot at the American dream. We all want to love each other. We all want to get along. And I have seen that in so many cases coming specifically from law enforcement. So there are so many of these great videos out there. I posted one of them on my Instagram where this police officer is hugging this kind of like teenage boy who looks like he's out there, you know, for the protest, and they have a moment of embrace because the boy's crying. There's one where this sheriff in Michigan is out there and he says, I took off all of my gear because I'm with you. I'm marching alongside you. I mean, it gives me chills to talk about because this is America. We are all in this together, and I think we can't lose sight of that. And that's what these videos throughout the week have reminded me of. And it's so refreshing and nice to see. There was an NYPD officer. He looked like he was wearing one of the white shirts, so I think he was a higher up in the NYPD, who literally got down on the ground, held hands with people who were peacefully protesting to, you know, show solidarity with them. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I think that's how most people, guys, feel in this country. It's sad because the media would have you believe otherwise. They would have you believe that we're very divided. But you know what? We're not. We are one nation under God, indivisible. And that is a key here. They want to divide us. We have to make sure that we stay together in this. We are all Americans, and that's what we're fighting for every single day.
There's no question. I think, you know, one man's horrific actions, which was that of the one officer who took the life of George Floyd, should not taint a whole police force. You know, there's no room for police brutality, absolutely. But at the end of the day, you find with these, many of these police officers, they want to do good work. They want to work with the communities to make sure we don't have crime and keep our communities safe. But, you know, it is always during these unprecedented times that you see also the heartbreaking part of this, which is Katrina, you know, watching these small business owners lose their businesses, I think has been something very rough, knowing that they might not be able to get back because of the fact that the rioters came in and took, you know, their goods, or broke into the bar and destroyed their establishment. What are your thoughts about that?
You know, it's not even just small businesses, Mercy. These are Black-owned small businesses. And I think that's what makes a huge difference here in the reaction to the murder of George Floyd. And, you know, there's a gentleman named Corboy Bala. He's a former firefighter who he and his wife invested their life savings into opening a sports bar. And they had intended to open it in March, but then COVID came and they couldn't open it yet. And suddenly Minnesota changes the restrictions, and guess what? June 1st was opening day. Not so fast, said the rioters. So this husband and wife lost their savings in this bar in Minnesota because rioters destroyed the establishment before it was ever even opened, and it was not insured yet. If you have seen the video of this man crying online, your heart should break. So many of us at the campaign, and we encourage everyone else to go to his MyFundMe page to support Kabori and his wife so that they can get their sports bar open and achieve their American dream.
God bless.
Wonderful. And that's right. I think they've raised over about $900,000 right now. I mean, it's remarkable, but that is the spirit of America. It really is.
That's America. That is America.
It tells a great story of when, you know, we lift up our brothers and sisters in time of need. But you know what also is great about America, and is that we go to places that other nations don't go. We launched, and Kimberly, I want you to share the story. We know that our two astronauts made it safely to the International Space Station. And it's very exciting because it has been over a decade since the U.S. has been back up in space, and you got to interview an astronaut just recently. Walk us through that experience.
Yeah, it was really incredible for Make Space Great Again. You know, I got to talk to Ms. Cavandi. She's just absolutely fantastic, and she was the first, female astronaut going up there. She's traveled 13 million miles in space. Can you even imagine that? And what I'm so proud of is, it's incredible. She's really excited about it. She loves the president, and the president is committed to making sure that we actually put a woman on the moon. I mean, how cool is that, right? To be done in our lifetime. It will be done with President Trump. So that's
maybe one of the four of us.
Women. Exactly. What
does that entail? Does that entail like 150 days without your husband, or what does that entail?
Where do we sign up? I'm just
there
kidding.
Might be a few people signing up to go after this whole situation.
If I could take one of my dogs, I would do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, that was very good. But anyway, so that was really great to be able to interview her. And I wanted to say something else. I'm so proud of the astronauts. And Laura and I had the pleasure to go down with the president and the family to be able to watch the first attempt with SpaceX. But unfortunately, due to the weather, they had to postpone the launch that day. But I was actually like, okay, thank God that they're being so careful with their lives. So I said, okay, I love that they were paying such close attention to everything and that they didn't go with it because they went when it was right. And you see, it's been a huge success. It was just incredible to be down there and to just see everything goes into this whole program. I really felt so just filled with pride. I know you did too, Laura, just filled with this like big pride of American creativity, ingenuity, to be able to put an American rocket into space, leaving American soil like that with American astronauts. You know, there's no more of the exporting of the American space program. It was closed down until President Trump brought it back to life again. And now we fly on our own rockets, not on Russian rockets, on other people's time and at other people's money. So I love that and embrace the entrepreneurship and the brave men and women that serve and go in and devote their lives to this. So it's incredible. And again, what a thrill to be with Janet Cavandi as well, to do the Make Space Great Again program. And she's just really incredible. I just love it. She had a beautiful message in particular to young women and young girls who dream of one day going to space and being there, you know, amongst the stars. And like I said, she was among the first to blaze the trail and do this. And now, you know, quite literally, the stars are literally the limit for all of our daughters. So, you know, maybe Carolina, she's going to be an astronaut one day, Laura.
Well, ironically, she watched with me on TV. It was just the two of us. It was actually a very special moment. My son was still napping. Don't tell him. But he got to see after they did the replay. Okay. But she was with me watching, and I mean, it's such an incredible moment. I don't think any of us in this country can't watch that and not get chills by the fact that we're able to do that. And I learned something new, by the way. You have to be going 22,500 miles an hour, I think, to get out of Earth's atmosphere, which I didn't even know anything went that fast. It's bananas anyway. So I don't know. Maybe I won't go up there. We'll see.
I got to just a real quick funny story. So we were having a discussion with the 5 Schlapp girls and in talking about, you know, the space, the launch, the rocket launch, and how historic it was. And of course, their big question was like, do the astronauts wear diapers while they're going up there? Because let me tell you, if I were an astronaut, I don't think I could hold it because I'd be so scared.
And they put them in there like 4 hours ahead of time, these poor guys, and they had to do it twice. I mean, I don't know if that's for me in that case.
Do me a favor, next time you interview an astronaut, ask them if they wear diapers. I'm real curious, okay?
That's what I'll do. Dawn said I'd be perfect for it. This is probably oversharing, but because I'll go 8-10 hours, never have to use the restroom.
Oh, you better hydrate. Let's get you some water.
I know. My dad used to say, well, of course you don't have to go. You don't drink any water. I'm like, oh, it makes sense anyway. But yeah.
I'll send you a case of water.
Well, let me tell you, it was quite just such an emotional day, I thought, and it really said so much about American innovation and American strength. And of course, President Trump making space great again. And let me tell you, I want to make sure we got to get those Space Force jackets. Those look really cool. I mean, I got to say.
Oh, yeah, we have to.
Yes, you guys.
We'll have to invest on those. But these were really encouraging stories. And once again, it shows that America is strong and we are not broken. Mm-hmm. But we have one more segment to go. Stay with us. We're going to take one more commercial break.
if people are really looking for something. I think you have to go out and really work hard.
You've sort of become like a folk hero.
There are no better builders than we have in New York, and a big percentage of that is black and minority folks, and I'm very proud of it. I say to the African American people that have to suffer, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it.
The black unemployment rate, the lowest in history.
1.3 million jobs, more than 1.3 million jobs added for African Americans. You talk about the First Step Act, thousands of people released from jail, 90% of them being African American.
And I want to thank our incredible president.
Funding for historically black colleges and universities. Opportunity zones, almost 9,000 of those in marginalized areas. This president has done more for African Americans in a matter of 2 to 3 years than any president in my lifetime.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Hey, Lara Trump here. The fake news media has spent years trying to stop President Trump with their lies and their witch hunts. But still, our movement is stronger than ever. We can't let the fake news media drown out our positive message about all of our incredible accomplishments. Make sure you're getting your news directly from the source by subscribing to the official Donald J. Trump podcast today. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play.
Welcome back to The Right View with Laura, Kimberly, and Mercedes. Tonight, we have discussed Antifa terrorizing the nation, the Democrats and the media's hypocrisy, and how President Trump is unifying the nation. Ladies, I'd like to get your final thoughts, but before we do that, here are a few ways for you at home to get involved. Download the new groundbreaking Trump 2020 app. It's available on Apple and Android. Sign up to volunteer, register for events, and win exclusive prizes. To stay in contact with us, please text Trump to 88022. If you or your friends, family, or neighbors want to be involved in our fight to re-elect President Donald J. Trump, please visit armyfortrump.com to sign up. There are tons of ways to get involved while following the CDC's social distancing guidelines. You can attend digital TVLI trainings, host virtual MAGA meetups, and phone bank from home. And now I'll turn it back over to the ladies to get final thoughts. Kimberly, let's start with you.
Oh, thanks so much, Katrina. And thinking back on my experience touring NASA last week with the president and the family and the subsequent space launch was just incredible to watch American history. Having these protests then and this unrest now as the backdrop to that historic day, it actually provides me with tremendous hope. Because we do live in a beautiful, loving, and ever-inspiring nation that put a man on the moon. And someday we'll put a woman on the moon. We've cured diseases. Recently, we flattened the coronavirus curve. We've overcome great struggles and blinding darkness. And at every point, we did it as a nation, as one united people. And while some of the things happening, in our communities right now are devastating, I am really hopeful and really pray about this a lot. And the boundless promise that it is only possible in the United States of America. And I believe this with my heart and soul.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Mercedes, what do you have to say for everyone tonight?
Well, do I always have to go after Kimberly? Because she's so darn.
It's hard, yeah.
Kim, no, here's what we have to keep in mind. And for all of you out there watching, we've got an election to win in November. We need each and every one of you to get so actively involved in this campaign because our nation, it's on the line. We need to make a decision very clearly of what direction we want America to go in. And I will tell you, President Trump wants peace, he wants unity, and he wants justice. And he is going to continue to fight every day and continue to put pressure on these other states to ensure that they bring safety to their communities. Look, I'm a mom. I'm concerned. I'm concerned for our communities. And I know that the only way I'm going to feel safe is if President Trump continues to remain our president. Biden is not an option, and we have an obligation to ensure that we stop Joe Biden, that we stop these radical leftists who are trying to fundamentally change America, and that we stop this fake news media that refuses to report the news in an objective way. So I ask you to go out there and help us out in our movement. It's help Trump get reelected and stay focused. We will get through this. The same way we got through coronavirus, we will get through these difficult times together under the direction and leadership of President Trump.
And that's what Americans are all about, getting through things together. And Laura, your final thoughts.
Well, I would just say that, look, we need to make sure as Americans, we're brothers and sisters in this country. This is about one American country. We are all Americans at the end of the day. We stand with the peaceful protesters out there. We are beside you. We are in this with you. We do not stand with the rioters, with the looters, with the arsonists out there that are burning down people's houses and businesses and literally destroying lives in cities every single day. We also stand with the many, many great members of law enforcement all across this country. One bad apple should not spoil the bunch. We cannot paint a broad brush across our law enforcement officers and say they're all bad. There are multitudes of great people out there, and it's just like any other group of people. You always have some bad ones. You weed them out. You make sure that they are held to account. But the rest of you, you are heroes. Thank you every day for standing out there and making sure that the people that are peacefully protesting maintain their First Amendment right to peacefully assemble and protest. So I just want everybody to remember that. Let's come together. Let's be Americans, and let's support one another.
Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you to everyone at home for tuning in. Tune in 7 nights a week for more Team Trump Online. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.